You're watching We Got You Media red carpet of Hollywood at the movie premiere River Runs Red, and I'm here with the producer, director, writer Wes Miller.
Yes, thank you for having me so much.
Thank you for having us, and congratulations on this amazing movie premiere. We've seen a trailer, and it's breathtaking, honestly. How did you come up with the story?
Thank you so much. It's a story that we kind of saw happening in the headlines today. And being a former attorney, I've been inside the system, and I just thought it would be interesting to look at this issue from the perspective of a person inside the system. And if the system fails that person, what options would he have left? And then we just began crafting the story, and just wanted something that would both be entertaining and a conversation piece.
Yeah, I mean, those stories are building up those days. It's happening. It's really happening out there. And what is amazing, how did you pick the characters? Like, we see George Lopez in the movie and Tidix and all these phenomenal characters. How did you come up with the vision to match them up so perfectly?
Sometimes it's just a little bit of divine intervention, but George Lopez has been amazing, and we were looking for somebody with the characters that both could have some empathy and also some dramatic gravitas. And of course, we know Tay has been, he's a legend and has shown his range, and we felt like he could communicate the lead character's struggle in a very visual way that also connects to America. And then George Lopez has a well of experience to pull from, and I thought with George it would be interesting for him to be able to show his dramatic side and the skills that he has dramatically, and I really hope people see it and so they can get that experience.
It's a shift 180 degrees from his comedy. He has a really good skills to pull the emotions out of people on the comedy side.
Yes.
He always makes everybody happy. Now here you see the totally opposite side, which is amazing.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about the action scenes, because there's a lot of action. There's a lot of thrilled moments.
Yes. So for me, I wanted again to entertain, and I believe action does allow us to have a very visual and visceral experience with movies. But at the same time, we wanted the action to be earned and character driven. So by the time we get to the action, we want to make sure that you care about what happens to everybody involved in the action sequences. And we had a great stunt coordinator, Greg Rementer, and a great stunt team. And it was just really awesome, putting that together with me and my editor, Ron.
Yeah. First of all, congratulations on your film premiere.
Thank you.
We are anticipating. It's a very interesting story. Congratulations on your nominations on film festivals for the best screenplay and for the best film for the Player Never Fails.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I've done some research, and you're working on Hell on the Border and Our Harlem. Yes. And you've done a witch story. Mm-hmm. To me, it's all a little bit dramatic.
Right.
And when I was watching the trailer of your film, you had those mid-autumn, nature and those colors. It's a little cold, makes you feel lonely, and willing to get some protection and warmth. What is inspiring you?
That's a good question. I think, for me, honestly, it's first with the material, and for some reason, I am drawn to more dramatic, contrasty type of material. And it's funny that you recognize that. But yeah, I think different filmmakers have a certain aesthetic that they gravitate towards, and for some reason, that darker, the more dramatic aesthetic is where we're at. And I just think it's visually interesting, and with most films it's about a lot of conflict, and I just think that contrast and that mood really helps a lot of times just tell stories where you have conflicted characters.
It does, definitely. All the colors which you used, I'm anticipating to watch the film.
Awesome.
Because it makes me think a lot, and the story of two fathers having the same issue. How did you come up with this idea, the feeling? What inspired you?
Well, what inspired me was just what's happening today, and then just being an artist, you want to comment on what's happening and maybe contribute something to that discussion. And I felt you have a father who's inside the system and a father outside the system, and different races, different colors, but at the end of the day, you have the system that is designed to keep us civilized and advanced from where we were in the Wild Wild West. Well, what happens when that system fails all fathers, no matter if you're in the system or outside the system? system, and at the end of the day, I think as a society we would just regress back to the Wild Wild West. So I see this often as like a modern Western in the sense of the sheriff leaves the town. The sheriff in this movie is the system, and then so what happens? And then with every choice is a consequence.
How did you come up with the characters? How did you develop characters in your imagination, which both main leads are playing?
Yeah, I mean, I think the process is you kind of let the characters develop themselves, and to me, characters really, what does a person do when someone's not looking? And in the writing process, you present them with obstacles, and you let them work the obstacles out, and that kind of really dictates who they are. And you always want your characters to be distinct and have their own point of view. So, for instance, Tay's character has the similar obstacles as George's characters, and then generally, because they have different educational backgrounds, different life experiences, they would take on these conflicts in different ways. At the end of the day, for this film, even though they take it on different ways, they end up on the same path together. So it's just really just kind of thinking it through and wanting to give the audience characters that they can relate with, empathize with, and actually care about what happens.
How did you feel working with these two lead actors of different backgrounds, and they have different characters?
Mm-hmm.
Like one is a mechanic, another one is a judge. How did you work with them to make them feel the role, to enter the character? Was it easy? And maybe who was the most difficult?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was easy, but Tay and George both are amazing actors. So I was really blessed in that regard to be able to work with them. And at the end of the day, it was really us working together to really identify who these characters are, how they would respond, and like really pushing for the truth of the matter and really wanting to get the best out of them to convey to the audience what their emotional state is. So again, by the time the end of the movie comes, we want you to actually care what happens to them and the officers as well. One thing that was important to me was not to make this a one-sided affair. We really wanted to make sure that officers were represented and also like the regular, people were represented. So it's not really an indictment against police officers. We want you to care what happens to the police officers as well. And I look at it as a tragic story, that's kind of what we did. We just wanted to tap into those actors' reservoir to bring their experiences and whatever helps them relate to the character, which visually we can present to the audience.
Many artists, when they draw the picture, they have a message, and the message sometimes is really tiny and it's hidden. It's not like a big picture which everybody can see.
Right.
So, what is this tiny message, and why did you come up with the name River Runs Red?
Well, I won't answer the question about the message because let's let everybody take their own from it. But I think River Runs Red I think the river of life runs red with blood generally, and we all bleed the same. And so no matter what side of the fence you're on, what race you are, what country you're from, the river of life will always be red. And I think once we as a society understand that, it just helps us advance a lot more. So, but yeah, on the message part, I was asked that question at a festival, and I won't answer that one. That's like,
well, I understand.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that. And the last question
Yes.
for you as a successful writer, filmmaker, producer, director. Your 3 tips of success for our young generations.
In filmmaking?
Yes.
Yeah, so I would say persistence, work on your craft, and persistence. Yeah.
Persistence, work on your craft, and persistance.
Yes, because it's tough.
You're watching Red Carpet of Hollywood Marina, Kufa. We got you media here with RJ Mitte, Officer Thomas, River Runs Red.
Yes.
Oh my God!
Yes.
Well, tell me all about it.
It was great. I was very happy that I could have a small little bit in this. I'm really happy about. We had a great group of people, but short-lived.
You have fun, did you enjoy the
I had a
movie?
lot of fun, yeah. And Wes was a great director, and we had a great group. And
Oh, yeah.
I was very happy that to meet some good friends and to see
Some action.
Yeah, some action.
And
Well,
definitely a different story this time, right?
Yeah,
It took a turn.
It is. I think it's something that is a really prevalent story, and I think that this kind of puts things in people's perspective and minds out there, and it's a good story. It's a story of it's a story of tragedy and someone that is willing to do anything for his family, and we see this story over and over, and this is no different in that. Where it's like, how far are you willing to go? What are you willing to do to get that?
Yes.
And it's cool to see.
Awesome. Well, tell me a little bit about your character. You are the cop, so
I have a small little. Yeah, it was great. I mean, you know, I'm sadly kind of an innocent bystander, but it was cool. I mean, you know, I came in for a brief stint in the movie, and mostly just kind of a bridge piece. And you know, these characters are fun to do because you don't really have a lot of meat to it, but what it is you can help push the story along. And I enjoy working, and I enjoy this types of content. So
how was it to work in with George Lopez and Ty Diggs?
you know, they mostly just shot me, so I didn't get to work much with them, but they were really great. And you know, George has become a good friend of mine, and Ty was amazing to have conversation with. He's smart, and you know who's actually like a really OG is Luke Hemmingsworth. I had such a great. I was in Tennessee for like 3 days, and it worked out very well, and we hung out, and it was a lot of fun. We really cared about, like, we really enjoyed what we did here. So,
well, listen, let's go and check out the movie.
Yes.
Fantastic screening. Thank you so much
No
for your
worries.
interview.
I hope you enjoyed. Thank you. Have a good day.
First of all, congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
On your beautiful work.
Thank you.
Please share with us your feelings. How did you feel playing this villain?
Well, you know, it was a character that was very interesting because it had a lot of different layers. You know, he suffered so much from his what he was going through with his father situation. Well, no, there was a lot of underlying racist resentment within him, I feel, but I didn't want to be too much on the nose when it comes to, you know, seeing a young black kid driving a fancy car, you know, so I try to keep it subtle as possible, and you know, I think the character, I've not seen the film yet, but I heard it turned out pretty well. It was good to play.
It was, yeah. I've seen the trailer.
All right.
And I enjoyed your role.
Thanks.
How did you get into the role? Did you use some kind of experience? What tricks did you?
Yeah.
You don't look like a bad guy.
I'm a vet. Yeah. Well,
you look a nice guy.
Yeah. Thank you. I normally do play a lot of villains, but I did a bit of research. There was a lot of American cops who have had racist experience, so they kind of, you know, I try to read about their lives and what motivated them and whatnot. But you know, it's as an actor, you know, 1 minute you're Abraham Lincoln, the next minute you're an Indian from, you know, the 1400s. So you've just got to adapt. But the cast were really good to work with, you know. But it was fun. It was very much fun.
How did you feel playing together with your partner, another villain?
Luke?
Yeah.
Well, I feel like Luke wasn't so much a villain. He had a heart, and he suffered for it. You know, and you basically had an Australian and a Scottish guy playing two southern, you know, racist cops.
Yeah.
So I try to stay with my accent, my American accent, and he would always hit my trailer and tell me to stop talking American. So he killed my accent all the time.
Your 3 tips of success for our viewers.
Perseverance, never give up, and always pray. Keep God on your side. Always pray.
Thank you so much. Congratulations. God bless you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
I wrote that part with me in mind, so you know, I had a lot of respect for that, and then we were able to still pull it off and doing it. So he's very good style, very creative, and you know, you have a guy that's a leader that doesn't really say a lot, but you know that he's there 100% of the time. You just feel connected to him.
So do you think we can make an impact with the movie on society?
Well, you know, it's a subject that, you know, it was tough last year when we were doing it, and it's been a whole year of and continuing to lose people like that every day. So, you know, this is
it's a deep subject.
It's a deep subject, and it's only a movie, but my heart goes out to people that are affected by any of this every day.
And they relate to it.
How did you feel playing this father who lost his son, this dramatic, this painful role? And how did you get into the role?
Well, you know, I had a very good friend of mine that I grew up with when I was 20. His name was Kenny Ramirez, and he got he got shot by the police. So I pulled back on that, you know. And even though I'm in my mid-50s, it still feels very fresh that he's gone. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. All right, you guys.
So
thank you very much.
Thank you
I appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Good luck on the premiere.
Thank you.
You are one of the producers, and I watched the trailer, and the movie is absolutely amazing. What made you choose to go by that story, especially directed by Wes Miller?
Well, it was a story that Wes Miller came up with, and he sent the script to us, and we just loved it. He's inspired by stories that impact audiences and provoke them to think, and it was just a wonderful project to be a part of, to see it come through.
So how was the story introduced to you?
Well, he was working on it, and Wes is one of the partners in the group, and he was like, I have this idea for a story, and he has a lot of them, but that particular one he sent, and everyone was like, wow.
Yeah, this is breathtaking story, and you guys have to see it.
Yes.
River Runs Red.
Yeah, River
so how
Runs
was
Red.
your experience during the whole project? How long it took you guys to produce it?
The project, it took probably like a year and a half to get off the ground. It was pretty intense because you were trying to find an African American actor to carry the film, and the juggling of that. It isn't so many with a smaller budget, so it was a lot of jumping through hoops and figuring out what puzzles go together to put the whole pieces together. It was a lot. It was a lot to produce this project, but we're so glad to see it come to fruition. And at Heartland, it did really well in the festival there last week, and the reviews are coming in that it's pretty good. So we'll see.
Wow! And what other projects have you done?
Well, I have an action film that's coming out called The Tone from our same production company. It's coming out in February. I'm actually I'm an actor in this film, and I open it.
Oh, really?
And I star in our other film.
Wow.
And then in our next project we're doing, I'm one of the actors. So I'm an actor-producer in the production company.
She's amazing. Where can we follow you? How can we find you?
Jacqueline Fleming, at Jack Fleming, and that's J-A-Q. Last name is Fleming. And so I'm just excited. We have another big project coming out from the company called The Tone, releases in February. So that's and that's the one I star in. So that's our next project. I think that the story is very timely with what's going on in society right now, and I think a lot of people will be able to relate to it and understand the perspective of what our lead character does. Not that it makes it right, the lead characters, but I think they'll be able to relate to the story, and in some way have empathy for them as well, the lead characters. I mean, two wrongs don't make a right, but you feel sorry at the end.
Well, empathy is a strong feeling, and the film itself is pretty difficult. It has that autumn colors. It's a little cold. It feels like you need some. You want to seek some protection and warmth.
Yeah.
But from your perspective, what is the message, the main message, and how people can solve these issues?
Well, racism and hatred and judgment, it never wins. The answer, contempt prior to investigation is what caused this whole thing to happen in the film. And I think if we as a society have an open mind and are not so judgmental of other cultures, then we wouldn't have these kind of incidences that are tragic. Young African American men being shot and killed by the police force it's atrocious. And what happens when the system fails you? What do you do? And that's a question that anyone could relate to if someone harmed you, no matter what nationality you are. So the film poses a lot of questions, and I hope that it leaves the audience very thought-provoked towards the end. Now, we've screened it, and you can hear a pin drop when the film is over.
What was your input as a creator?
I was one of the producers on the project, so from script development, all the way from the development to pre-production, all the way to when we were on set to post-production. I'm still working on the film, so it's a lot.
How did you feel working on the set? I mean, you had to be in that story, in that in that mood.
It was hard because I felt it. I was on set, and Jennifer, she plays Taye Diggs' wife in the film, and the scene where she breaks down you know, you can't help. Everyone is on the set, and you're just like, your heart is heavy.
Yes.
It's so heavy. It's such a tragic story, and I still get teared up thinking about it. When I read the script, I just bawled. I just cried and cried, and I was like, I have to be a part of this. You know, I have to be on board and tell the story.
What was the most difficult moment for you on the set?
I think the scene where it was after the funeral and we had a gospel group from Kentucky that was singing, and it was so heavy. Like the song they sang, everyone on set was just crying. We were all like behind the cameras and our tears were just falling. So, yeah.
Well, I don't want to make you cry right now. You have
yeah,
a premiere.
I feel like that. I'm gonna cry.
That's emotional. Could you please share with us, with our viewers, your 3 tips of success?
Okay, my name is Jacqueline Fleming. I'm an actress and a producer, and I think the success is just, it's really being happy for other people's success and paying it forward in life, giving and mentoring and things like that, which has been given to me and I give away. You gotta give it away to keep it.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your interview. Good luck on the premiere. And
Thank you.
in order to stop you crying, can we hug?
Yes.
Actually, they're showing my